Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land. I'm your host, Raylene Marks, with today's top stories. But before we get into today's top stories, let me take this opportunity to wish you all, wherever you are around the world, and it may already be 2020, a very happy, healthy, prosperous, joyful, and peaceful 2020. May the best of your 2019 be the worst of your 2020. So here's to a magnificent new year, and we look forward to sharing it along with you. But as promised, let's take a look at today's top stories. Today, Israel's High Court debated whether or not Prime Minister Netanyahu will be able to form a government should his party win and he be elected to do so on the elections taking place on the 2nd of March. Prime Minister Netanyahu, in a letter to the High Court, claimed that this was undemocratic and that it was not for the High Court to decide, no matter how esteemed they are, but for civilians and voters to decide. And this follows a petition signed by 67 members of academia and the high-tech sector who have said that the Prime Minister is facing several indictments, and is he able, or should he be able, to form a government? Now, according to Israeli laws, politicians or members of Knesset and mayors must resign if indicted. However, there are no legal reasons why Prime Minister Netanyahu cannot run for the 2nd of March elections. In news further afield, we spoke yesterday about the terrible attacks in Monzi and the spate of anti-Semitic attacks that have been taking place over the last couple of weeks in the New York area. Today, Mayor of New York, Blasio, announced that he would be implementing a 3-point plan to help deal with anti-Semitic hate crimes. He announced that there would be a greater presence of NYPD in Jewish neighborhoods, as well as the establishment of neighborhood watch coalitions that would act as watchdogs and report in to the NYPD. And the third prong is an increase of education to school children about anti-Semitism and hatred. However, we must say that in our concern is with regards to education. Has the horse bolted? A couple of weeks ago, we had the pleasure of hearing the special envoy of the United States to deal with anti-Semitism, Ilan Carr, speak about the problems of anti-Semitism, and he spoke about the lack of adequate programming in the schools. And it is an imperative now, especially as post-Holocaust generations die off, that we educate about what happens when anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic rhetoric is left to go unchecked. It is so important that we all play our part in educating, especially the next generations, about anti-Semitism, how we talk to our children about anti-Semitism, and importantly, what happens if it is left to flourish. And our final news story of the day is that Israel's natural gas, the Leviathan, started to operate today, and this is despite quite a number of protests from people saying that it would affect the immediate environment and increase air pollution. Now, the Leviathan gas plant has been approved by the Minister of Environmental Protection. However, many who live near the area and along the beachfront evacuated their homes for fears of increased air pollution. However, the government has said that it should be safe, and exports of natural gas will begin in the next couple of weeks. So those are the top stories making headlines here in Israel. Don't forget, if you're looking for something to do this New Year's Day, you can check out our original content online at our website at www.layoftheland.online. That's www.layoftheland.online. You can read an article by Gina Raphael that describes her activism when finding out that a company was producing coloring books with featuring dictators and politically incorrect crayons featuring the color gray as Auschwitz ash. Highly offensive, and what she did to combat this. You can also check us out on our Facebook page at the local site. Don't forget to like us and follow us, and also to share our content. It helps educate people significantly as to Israel's side of the story, and also to the contribution that Jews make in their countries around the world. And you can also check out our YouTube channel at the Israel Brief. Please subscribe by clicking on the subscribe button, and don't forget to invite your friends as well. So with the Tuesday, and I think some of you called it Old Year's Eve or New Year's Eve edition of the Israel Brief, I'm Rolly Marks, and we'll chat again tomorrow.